All right, there we go. And I'm just looking at the calendar, being kind of shocked seeing that it's June 1st.
Yeah, what happened? Didn't we just pay the bills already?
Actually, that's a good day. I love the 1st. I get to pay my affiliates. So
Yeah, that's a good thing.
that's what I'll be doing this afternoon. I love that part of my job. So cool. So one thing I wanted to get up front, because I had a couple of people that had emailed me this week and they wanted me to address this on the call. So I want to do it up front. A lot of emails are getting received from Google about this new update to the Google Analytics. So they're saying that you've only got so many days left, and people are starting to like freak out about that. Now, a lot of you probably installed Google Analytics years ago and have never looked at it. And if that's the case, you don't really have anything to worry about. If you are using Google Analytics or you want to use Google Analytics, then you're probably going to have to update. So I would go in, follow the instructions, do whatever they do. Just click on the link in the email, follow the instructions, and you can get that updated. But if you're not using it, there's really nothing to worry about. So I know most of the people that I've talked to, they freaked out about it. And I said, well, are you using it? And they're like, no, I don't even know what it is. I'm like, okay, well, then don't worry about it. So if you're working with Google Analytics, basically is analytics for your website data. It's like the back end stuff. So if you're running ad campaigns and they're connected to the analytics, then it's going to be an important thing for you. If you're generating reports or you're working with somebody, like let's say you're working with an SEO company and they're doing reports for you on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, whatever it is, they might have Google Analytics plugged in to collect data so they can understand what's going on with your website and push traffic better for you. So if those are any of the cases, then Google Analytics might be important to you, but you might not see it from your side. So whoever you're working with, reach out to them and just tell them, hey, you need some help getting this updated so it doesn't break. But that's about it. If you guys have any specific questions about it, I don't know, is anybody using Google Analytics? I know Jim probably is. But anybody else? Anybody actually using it? Roger, okay. Have you updated? Have you guys walked through the update thing? Okay. So
yeah, a client just texted me asking for expertise in making the conversion to Google Analytics 4, and I said I've been procrastinating, so I'm not an expert yet. But like you said, you can go through the process, and at some point they give you the opportunity to schedule a time with a Google expert to help with the transition.
Okay, gotcha.
And it also sounds like Google Analytics 4 is going to be able to collect and measure more data than currently, but that might just be marketing. It's probably stuff that most of us don't use.
Yeah. I think they probably will have some hooks in there, because in the pay-per-click side of things, it really connects with that to pass data. And in the pay-per-click side of things, they are really working on some major updates to the pay-per-click system to more forecast and do a better job of sending you traffic. So it's probably, they're probably trying to keep up with all of that stuff. So, but like
sorry to interrupt, John.
Oh, no worries. If you are doing pay-per-click or any kind of paid advertising where the analytics is important, you will want to do that process. You will want to follow the instructions, get it set up, maybe set up with one of their people to help you if you need that. But most people, it'll just disappear. they'll probably deactivate whatever it was at some point. And if you're not using it anyway, then it'll probably go away. If here's something you should do if you're managing your own WordPress site and you've got a plugin in there for Google Analytics and you're not using it, I would highly recommend that you just go in and deactivate it and remove it. If you've got plugins in your website that you're not using, I really recommend that you delete them, get them out of there. For two reasons. One, they could potentially slow down your website. And two, they could have vulnerabilities, if they're not being updated and paid attention to, or if they're out of date. I just went through a whole bunch of websites and cleaned them of all kinds of old plugins. And I couldn't believe how many I got rid of. So anyway.
John, is there a list?
Roger, I give you permission for that. That's
Hey, John, I was just going to mention Google Analytics. I used it for quite a while. It's still there, the hook, but I find it doesn't capture all that robust information that it should, that I see that it has the potential to do. On my site, even though there's places to put the Google Analytics code snippets and such, it just doesn't show the information. I find the complexity to reward ratio to be skewed way towards complexity compared to, I have a plugin for A/B testing that has decent analytics, and WooCommerce has decent analytics. So I'd like better, but the decent is easy. And so that's what I'm not going to update to the new one.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Some of you have heard me tell this story before, but Google Analytics actually came from another software company. It was called Urchin. And when Urchin came out, it was amazing. I mean, I bought licenses for all my servers so I could install it and have it run on all of my hosting accounts. And it was absolutely amazing data, especially like back then I was doing a tremendous amount of SEO, and it would give you access to everything. It would tell you what keywords people were actually typing in to get to your site. And that data was incredibly valuable. And then this little company called Google decided that Urchin was just too good to be out in the public. So they bought it and they renamed it to Google Analytics. And the very first operation of business under the Google Analytics name was to go in and strip all that valuable data out of it. And they've been doing nothing but that ever since. They're stripping data out. It's like they only want us to have certain data. They want all the data, but they don't want us to have just what they want us to have. So its value, I think, has been degrading over time. Anything at all to do with, SEO or marketing, they're really not there to help us do SEO, right? They're very anti-SEO. They want you to pay for ads and go through their system. So they have it more in alignment for that benefit and not anything outside that. So that's probably why you're seeing more and more data stripped out of it. And I haven't really been up to speed on all the other analytics tools on the market. I'm sure there's a ton of them at this point, and I'm just a little behind the curve on that one. I look at sales and conversions, and that's really always been my main focus. So, all right, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah. How can we get a list of WordPress plugins with vulnerabilities that you removed or that you recommend removing?
I didn't really remove them because of vulnerabilities. I just went through and removed them because they weren't being used. There are websites out there. You can do a Google search on just search for vulnerable plugins. And I'm sure you can come up with, a bunch of lists of them. The Malcare software that I've installed that on almost all of my clients at this point. And I think you've been using that one too, Jim. That
Yeah.
software actually scans all of your plugins on a daily basis. And if there's anything with a vulnerability, it'll send you an email, which
Yeah.
I find that really, really beneficial. And this morning, I got an email that it had scanned and it found a vulnerable plugin. And the only reason the plugin was vulnerable was because it had an update to it. And it said, click here to update the plugin with one click. So I clicked, it took me to my malcare control panel. It has all my customers in it. And there was an option there to update all the plugins on all the sites. And I'm like, this is like Christmas time. Because you know what a pain that is, Jim, to log into everybody's site and have to go through one at a time and update everything. So,
Yeah, I do. I use Zagio for that.
yeah, that one as well. But this, it was really, really beneficial to just go in, click the button, it updated all the plugins, and like, wow, that was easy. That made life really simple. So good stuff. Anything else? Any other topics you guys want to cover specifically? Roger, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, I have a branding opinion question for you.
Okay.
We have watched other people conduct multi-day conferences, and then they roll out their expensive coaching package.
That's common practice.
Yep. And we're joining those ranks. So
Okay,
count
cool.
us among them. In creating the stack of the items that you get for this phenomenally low price, it is not uncommon for each of those stack items, instead of having a descriptive such as monthly support calls, it'll have its own brand name, unrelated often to the name of the company or package itself, but it's
Okay.
related-ish. I mean, it's based on whatever that particular stack item does, but it's a catchy little brand name for it.
Okay.
So my first question to you, I have two. My first question is, do you recommend that those individual stack item brand names be more related to what that particular item is doing, whether it's a set of monthly calls or it's a in-person multi-day, retreat, that kind of thing? You recommend that the little catchy brand name for that particular item is an independent name that's cute, or is a derivation of the main company name, almost in a pun style?
Sure. There's no right or wrong to that. It could go either way. My preference when I'm naming something is to try and get the benefit into the name of the thing. Like, and not necessarily what it is. Like if it's coaching calls, you don't have to call it coaching calls, but the benefit of what are they going to get out of the coaching calls would be my preference, because benefit driven stuff always works better. If it's all attached, then, that's a plus too. But
Can I throw a couple examples?
Sure.
So if you pretend that what we have is a feline adoption agency, then our main brand is Share Kitty, and we were thinking of having a track called Smart Kitty and another track called Brave Kitty.
Okay.
Or alternatively, we could have their own independent catchy names.
I like the theming to that. I think that might have a good appeal for your particular instance. So
You can ask.
keeping to the theme.
So John, I had a question.
Okay.
So when we were talking about this and I was like, oh, I know. How about Smart Kitty for the learning tracks? And then
Yes.
Brave Kitty for kind of our challenge that our little challenge game. So do we call it Smart Kitty Learning Track so that people understand what Smart Kitty, or do we keep it cute? Smart Kitty, you understand you're going to learn on the Smart Kitty, you're going to do on the Brave Kitty.
Yeah. No, I think the more descriptive you are, the less they have to guess at what it is, the better off you are. It's, I know there's like cute and catchy, but if some people don't get it, then it doesn't benefit you. So I have no problem with that, but I like the idea that, you're theming it through. That's kind of cool. It doesn't always work, it doesn't always work for everybody.
Right.
But
And after we have a
you have a
stack of about
situation-
10 items. So
yeah,
it
if you have
could get,
a situation where it does work, then by all means, I would probably stick to that because it's cool,
okay,
it's-
next question.
it's themed and it all just goes together. It looks like one uniform package.
Okay, so part 2 is it good, and maybe this requires some SEO overlap here, is it good to take each of those product offering brand names like Smart Kitty and get that domain so that if somebody goes to the domain, it forwards to the page on the main site, the / page, or just don't worry about it?
I personally wouldn't worry about it. If you're worried about a competitor grabbing it to try and, sweep your customers, then, maybe, but typically no, I wouldn't. I know there was a time when everybody just bought up every domain under the sun thinking people were going to go there. But the only real reason for that is if you're concerned about somebody else coming in and stealing your traffic, trying to steal your brand, that kind of thing.
That presupposes we have enough traffic to be worth it. So that would be a good problem to have.
Exactly. Like in my case, the internetdominators.com, what I did was I bought a few domains around that. Like I bought Internet Dominator and Dominators. Just because, if somebody sees me on stage and they go to type in the website, I want them to be able to make the mistake and still get there. But if if you have like totally different things and they're all just around the Kitty brand, I don't know that I would necessarily do that. So,
Well, thanks, John.
yeah, the other one that I did was Dominator, TORS and TERS, because that's a very common, when you get something like that not everybody knows the right spelling of it, you probably are better off to buy the spellings just so you don't lose it. So, all right, Richard, you got your hand up there?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I was wondering, I'm just about to get this thing going here, and I need to get up to speed on Kartra. So I'm at the point now where I need to go spend the weekend learning Kartra. But I wanted to make sure that Kartra has a CRM function. And if so, how does it work and where is it? And could you kind of give me a quick overview on how the CRM in Kartra is supposed to work and that sort of thing? Just the outline, the fast version.
Sure. Now the CRM in Kartra is fairly basic. It's got one of the features of the CRM is you can rate things. You can rate customers by, like, I think they call it I forget what they call it, but it's like the level of client. So you can say, okay, if this tag is applied, they're level 1. If this tag's applied, they're level 2. Each different customer record has a place where you can keep notes in it. there is a calendar system where you can, you can create calendar reminders and things like that. It's not the most sophisticated CRM system, though. I will tell you that. If you're looking for, a real robust business CRM system, you're probably going to be disappointed.
What I'm looking for is that if I'm setting up people with outreach and reactivation campaigns, as you know, if you set up a whole customer lead generation program for a customer, they aren't going to use it unless there's a place where they can log in, check, and they can essentially, and I'm sorry to have to use high level as an example here, but when you log into high level, the first page you land on is the dashboard. It shows you all your funnels, where you're going, who's where, and that sort of stuff. And you can manage each of those things, and they can manage their clients and their outreach, and that can all be automated. You're telling me that that's not,
No, automations. Yeah, Kartra is very advanced on automations. But I thought you were talking about like a CRM system for you, as like most people refer to that as a salesperson, as going in and having all the, all the bells and whistles as far as manual outreach. If you're looking for automated stuff, Kartra is phenomenal. You can automate anything.
okay, well, when we get a lead in and they have somebody opts in, they've got a lead, so we're going to do an automated follow-up sequence, and there's going to be a sequence with that. But if one of those prospects emails in, it's got to go somewhere. There's got to be a place where a salesman can go in and look at it and respond to them, and they can have a conversation and track your SMS messaging and that sort of thing. Are those functionalities and capabilities in there?
Yeah, correct. So there's a help desk. So you create the help desk for all the inner client communication. So like you can go into the client's record, you can see all the stuff that's transacted through the help desk. You can assign tags to put them in different categories. The tags can create automations for follow-up sequences. You can have further automations that if they take a certain action, they might be removed from this sequence and added to another one. So you can get as fancy as you want with that system. I mean, you can go so deep in the weeds, you'd be months in, years.
Not particularly interested in doing that. I just want to make sure that there's a place where if we're generating leads for the client, they have a place or a dashboard they can go in and see all their clients and see what's going on with them. And if there's a need to outreach, they have the ability to do that, and all that stuff is in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all absolutely in there. What you really need, like with any scenario of figuring out what a particular software is going to do, you need a process map. You need to be able to be very specific and say, I want to do this. And then you can hand that, like you could show me that and I'd say, oh yeah, you do this, 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 and you're done. It's the problem comes in more generic questions like, is there a CRM system? Because that can mean any one of a million things.
Well, there you go. I've mapped it all out.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
every step is mapped out, and what's going on and where it's going and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, you can, if you have a map like that, you can probably just go in and automate the entire thing in Kartra.
okay, what am I looking for in the back end then on your site to find the Kartra training? What's it called?
It is, let me see here. Let me find it for you. That's
While John's doing that, Richard, have you done the Kartra training?
I've not done any Kartra training. I went in there and tried to put some stuff together when I was first building some funnels and stuff, and it is so user unfriendly. I just paid some guy on Fiverr, $10 an hour to build the stuff I want while I was doing other stuff, because it's not intuitive. And as John pointed out there, they'll give you, this is how you do this thing. And it's like, well, great. Here's an apple. Where does that fit in the recipe of how to make an apple pie? You know, okay, here's how to build an apple, but I want an apple pie, and all the different things are broken up into different pieces on different pages. There's not just a place where if you want a pie, here's the recipe kind of stuff. And that's what I think John is trying to add to it. But so
Yeah,
far,
John's training is really good. And I've been through the Kartra training 3 times now. And you're right. You have to have the like process Kartra training. If you just log into your Kartra account, there's the training button in the upper right.
yeah,
so
I couldn't quite follow. You're saying Kartra, which is one of their cute
Yeah, it's
names.
like astronaut.
A la
with
Roger,
Kartra.
kind of cute name, but yeah, I found that completely pointless when I tried it the first time. Maybe doing John's first will help.
yeah, so with the Kartra training, the Kartra training is really good for specific things, but it's not an overview of how to use Kartra. If you're stuck, like you say, oh God, I need to know how to do this in a form, you go to the Kartra training and it will show you exactly how to do that process. But it's not a thing where you can go in there and learn how you're going to integrate Kartra into your business. They're missing that piece. That's why I created that. And I put a link in the chat for you. And
Thank you. See it.
That's what I created to help people get through the Kartra, you know, how to integrate it into their business. So that I think that'll help you a lot.
Okay,
And,
I got it. The link opened up to the page and I got it. So that's what I'm going to.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
how much time do I need to set aside to run through that whole thing?
Oh, well, it was a 2-day event. It's a recorded 2-day event, and it was done in 2-hour sessions. So you'll probably need about 12 hours.
Good enough. Thanks.
About 12 hours start to finish. I'm also going to start doing more Kartra training, not necessarily on this call because not everybody's using Kartra here. But when I do that, I will want some people as examples, and I will actually just set their Kartra accounts up for them as an example, because I don't want to do it in my account because my account's got so much stuff, it would be overwhelming. So to do it in somebody that's got a much cleaner account, I'll just use their account, get their process map, and just set it up for them and go, boom, there it is. Because
that sounds interesting. When and where is that going to happen?
I'll be putting out notices for that. I'm probably going to be doing that real soon. So look for the emails. They'll be coming out.
Put me on the list.
You're on the list. You just gotta watch for the email. That'll teach you. Don't ignore my emails. I don't send a lot, but they're important.
Never.
Yeah, John, I have a client that wants membership and training and sequences. So that might be a good candidate as well.
Okay, cool. All right, Roger, back to you.
Hey, John, thanks. Okay, another quick opinion idea. We have a stack that has basically 2 transformational in-person events. They're not sales event, they're content delivery event. And we also have 2 monthly call tracks. And then we have things like unlimited email access, launch calls, things like that.
Mhm.
But there is in this package, which is medium high end, it does not have a individual call. It's all group.
Okay.
And of course they can purchase a la carte individual calls, but I thought, what if we put in the package something I call the Explore Facilitated? So Explore is a course, a video course with a workbook, and we have a facilitated version where there's 3 1-hour calls with a client. And I believe that that lets me know who the client is, what their challenges are, and what their needs are. And even though it's the rest is going to be group content, I can kind of tailor it to them.
Mhm.
Michelle took the advice somebody at another conference gave, which is never offer these individual call opportunities that aren't sales call. This is content delivery calls, right?
Yeah.
Never offer those when you're doing group project sales, because it limits your scalability. It severely limits your scalability. If you sell 10, now you have to do 30 calls.
That's correct. Yes.
But since we're starting out and our issue is not the lack of time to deliver calls at this point, I'm thinking that I would rather have that as an inducement, as a enticement. I perceive our customers as knowing us from our online presence and wanting to connect directly and ask us the questions that for years they've been messaging us, these kind of questions, and we've answered for free. So the question is, do we include a line item for decent compensation, but that compensation also includes all the group calls and events? The calls.
It would probably be an upsell. And, to the point of should you do that or shouldn't you do that, it does radically reduce your scalability. If you're in the beginning stages and you're looking to add value, to get testimonials and stuff, that would be a good reason to do it on a limited time basis. Like in my business, I had all kinds of people. I've been doing the group calls like this for years. And I always had people that didn't want to ask their questions on the call, and they wanted to, private calls. And it was driving me crazy because they would say, I just have like one question. It'll take 2 minutes. And then I'd be on the phone for 3 hours with them. And I just didn't want to do it. I'm like, look, I'm here for the group. The reason I like the group is because, when we're working in the group, it's benefiting everyone. So what I did, somebody said, just throw a high price on it and you'll eliminate all those calls. So I'm like, well, that sounds like a hell of an idea. So I did. I put $1,000 an hour. I said, yeah, I'll do private calls for $1,000 an hour. And I'm thinking, yeah, nobody's ever going to do that, right? Well, I was wrong. I got people signing up at $1,000 an hour. And it blew my mind because they didn't really have anything they wanted to talk about. They wound up spending $1,000 an hour to talk about the weather. And I'm like, this just absolutely blows my mind. But it was a reality. So, and then it was really funny because some of them said, well, can I buy the $1,000 and split it into 4 15-minute calls? And I'm like, sure. If you want to pay me $1,000 an hour, sure, I'll do that. So I put that in as a line item, and then people started buying it. And it was the same thing. It was a 15-minute call about the weather. It was like, it just blows my mind.
John, I agree with you completely. At the 10K price point, though, with no individual call to a customer, I'm worried that we're going to have customers who won't commit to a 10K package, who would if I just spent 3 hours a year on a call with them, or 3 45-minute calls.
Hey, if it makes sense and it sells a higher end package, then it's part of the deliverables. And you just have to know that you probably aren't going to have that many people that take a 10K program to make it unscalable for you. But just look at the amount of time committed, and do you want to do that? That's really what it comes down to. That's why I created my apprentice program, and I made it affordable for the people that actually want to work with me one-on-one to get their projects up in line and, up and running and, like big ideas. It's hard to do big ideas in a group where I might noodle a big idea around for a couple of hours and then come up with it. And then we kick it back and forth and, or creating an offer stack, stuff like that. And I'm working one-on-one with those people on that level. But I realized I don't want to do that much of that kind of work. So I limit it to 8 people. I've never taken on any more than eight people at that. So that's my scalability. It's not scalable. I do it to help because I love to get people up and running and I love to see that success that comes out of that. But that's as much as I want to commit to is 8 people at a time. So outside,
Okay, so final thoughts at that price point. So at that price point, mostly group assistance, do we add the 3 individual call package in, or do we keep it as a separate upsell, in your opinion?
I would add it in. I would add it in knowing that you're not going to have that many of them. And you'll actually sell the program because of that. Because that's what people want when they go into a higher level program. They're looking for one-on-one. They don't buy the high-end program to be just in a group. The group is a benefit of it, but they're looking for a higher touch.
Okay, thanks, John.
I would say, yeah, you could definitely add that in. All right, Woody, Mr. Woody.
Hey, good morning, everybody from LA. Hey, John, what do you got for cheap trademarking? I realize I've launched some projects. I don't have trademarked. So I got to do an RE, but I don't want to pay the guy in Canada $4,000. No.
Gotcha. I haven't done it recently, but I've done a few trademarks in the past and I always did them myself. I went through, I think it was Library of Congress is who you file the paperwork. But if you just go online and Google, how do I do my own trademark? You'll probably find a tutorial or go on to YouTube. It's really not that sophisticated. The trademark process is you fill out a document, you send it in, you submit it. It takes a waiting period. I believe you have to have it printed in a publication. And then there's a period of 30 or 60 or 90 days. I don't remember how long the period was that people could contest it. And then if it gets contested, then you might need an attorney at that point, or you might need to change it and resubmit it or something like that. But there's really only limited places where you would actually need representation to do it. I know there's a lot of people that are selling it as a service, and that's great. A lot of people wouldn't want to deal with it. And the benefit of the service is you've got somebody that really knows what they're doing. They know how to research it. They know how to make sure that it gets submitted and goes through without any contesting. They can do the searches and see if anybody's got a conflict. But if you're just trying to save money and you just want to put it through, and you can do it yourself. There's no problem with that. And then once they approve it and you got it. So at that point, then you would only need an attorney if you have to defend it, if somebody's infringing upon it. But that AI, I would actually even try AI. I would use ChatGPT and say, what are the steps needed to file a trademark? I can almost tell you for sure it's going to know how to do it. Ask it, what are the pitfalls? What do I need to know? What do I need to look out for? and just leverage that good old AI tool, our new best friend.
I have one other question.
Okay.
You know, I have 4 entities that I'm doing. One is my real estate. The other is my training, you know, Gateway to Joy. The other is my music company, which was my dad's. And now I've incorporated into my business. And I was wondering about like the way Craig does, like Craig Deswald, you know, rock your house, rock your mouse, rock your dog. Whatever it is, it's Craig is always first. And I like that for branding, but like I'm doing Gateway to Joy. Should it be Woody Blackman's Gateway to Joy? Or, you know, should I try to attach my name to everything?
If you're the brand, then yes. If you don't have to, though, if it's like a totally different thing, like since you, in your case, you are the brand, so I don't see any problem with doing that. You could say Woody Blackman's Gateway to Joy. Yeah, Woody Blackman's this real estate, Woody Blackman's that music center. You know, you could do that for sure. There's no problem at all with that. Now, if you have a brand that is very set in its way, like let's say you had a real estate brand, for instance, and it was all, you know, real estate, and then you were doing something that was totally unrelated, then, you know, I might break it and go that direction. Because when you,
What do you mean break it?
Well, I wouldn't follow the same pattern.
All right.
You know, like if Roger was to open a flower shop, I don't know, I'd name it after the kitty.
Flower Kitty.
You know what I mean? Just the brand is supposed to represent the flow of product, you know, and it also represents the community that follows it. So you need to be in alignment. So if you've got 2 completely different things, I wouldn't have a problem with a separation of brand. Like Craig, everything he does is about rock, you know, rock is his background. Rock is the common thread throughout all of his stuff. You know, if he were to partner with Roger, he would rock his kitty. You know? So it's all about the rock.
Keep it G-rated, guys. Keep it G-rated.
I am. We're talking about pets here.
Talking about kitties.
That was funny though.
I don't know if anyone would want to watch Craig rock his kitty, but
Well.
all right, we better leave that one alone and move on to Tony.
So, okay, John, I got a techno hurdle that come up for me this week.
Okay.
We've been using a company called Wistia to host our videos for more than 1 decade. And I got a rare email from Wistia this week, and they said, you need to meet with us immediately so we can discuss your new pricing plan. And I guess I got in pretty early with the Wistia company, and they had been charging me what they called a custom rate to host my videos, and the price was about $300 a year. And they started, I guess, kind of looking at my my space I was taking up or something, and we have 1,124 videos that we published and we keep there on Wistia, which of course is woven into a variety of websites, and these videos are tied into a host of varieties of emails and follow-up sequences through Keep that we have, our CRM system that we've been using for years. We don't, use 1,124 videos every day, but they're saying now that I've got to pay them like $300 a month for the existing videos instead of $300 a year, which is a pretty significant increase at one time.
Yeah.
And they want 50 cents per month for each additional video that we add to our library. And we have consistently, with 1,124 after 11 years, we're consistently putting up around 100 or so videos each year. So I wanted to see if you had any guidance or thoughts on how we might deal with that. It's obviously a pretty good bit of data that is being stored and hosted. It's been virtually trouble-free over the amount of years. One of those things you kind of set it and forget about it. It's been very reliable. We don't have problems, but man, a 12x price increase came as a bit of a surprise yesterday. So
yeah, I got the same thing from Wistia about probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I didn't get it from the amount of videos, but I got it from the video usage, like the amount of plays, the amount of airtime that, because I was doing training videos on there and I was doing webinars, and you do a 2-hour webinar and you got 1,000 people watch it. That's a lot of bandwidth.
right.
So I got the same thing. They wanted to measure and meter the bandwidth, and the price was going to be astronomical. And so what I did, it happened to be at the perfect time for me because I was moving into Kartra at that time, and Kartra had the video hosting included in their package. And so what I did, I moved a lot of the videos on there, all my Kartra videos, my Kartra training, or not Kartra, my ACT program. I moved all the ACT videos on there. And then I had the same thing. They had notified me that you've used up your bandwidth for the month and that you need to move up to the next level. But on the next level, it's unlimited bandwidth on the videos. So I did that, and my Kartra level, I'm on the silver level now. It's $199 a month, and it gives me pretty much everything in Kartra plus unlimited video usage. But with you have a bigger problem. Like what you said, you've got this intertwined through all these marketing campaigns, and that would be an absolute nightmare to change those URL video addresses. That would be, I don't know, to me, that would be catastrophic to drop that on me and say, you got to do all this work. I'd just walk away. But I know you don't want to walk away from that.
So you don't really want to walk away. We got a pretty substantial amount of stuff, I mean, and in thinking about it, at least the thought process that I had in the early days was that we didn't want to put all of our membership stuff on a YouTube video, right? We didn't want to have our competitors be able to buy advertising space in the middle of our training videos, and we didn't want to have our competitors buy ad space in the middle of our marketing commercials or videos. So
and I totally get that. So there is a reason, to pay for video hosting to get, the priority service for business use. But what you got to look at, I mean, you got to make a decision. You have to make a decision that's based on a lot of different variables. And you have choices too. You've got some choices. You could go in and you could say, okay, of these 1,100 videos, you said,
Yes, I just kind of snuck up on me, I guess, 1,124.
Yeah, so
What they pointed out to me yesterday in our little, meeting. So I'd kind of forgotten how prolific we had become and being able to do videos, but I mean,
you could go through, I can almost assure you probably don't need 1,100 videos. You probably have a very big chunk of those that you could eliminate and not ever miss anything. And maybe I'm wrong with that, but if it were me, I know I went through, the first thing I did was I parsed out, a whole bunch. I'm like, oh, this is just, I don't need this, I don't need that. And I dumped off, because when I moved them, I only moved over what was really important into Kartra, and then I just dumped the rest. But it's a bigger challenge for you because of your integration to move them to another platform. So
we have WordPress sites, and we operate, I think, 9 different sites, and there's videos on every site, but they're all hosted on Wistia, right?
Correct.
So is there, I mean, and I just kind of thought that was the right thing to do. Is there a different approach with using WordPress site, or is that?
No, you're gonna have to pay for video storage and usage one way or another, because it's hosted. That was the thing that I didn't really like about the whole go high level thing, was they tell you everything's unlimited and at a certain price, and they can't do that. That's not a real model. So video bandwidth costs money, from a server perspective, from a hosting perspective. All that bandwidth costs money. So they're not in business to lose money. But what you can do is you can probably look at what you've got, parse it down, use it more effectively. Like if you knew every video you put up was going to cost you X amount, you probably would have been a little choosier when you were doing your 1,100 videos, right? You might have put some of them on YouTube and, not really cared about that or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you just have to choose whether you want to leave them there. That's one of your choices. You got to decide, okay, do I stick with Wistia? Sticking with Wistia has a lot of pros to it, because you don't have to change all your links. That's a huge plus because of the can of worms that you've got. The cons to it is you're going to have to pay for it. The reality is, do you need to pay that much? Probably not. You could probably go through and really clean that account up and then renegotiate your price with them. So I would say that would be the first thing, is to reach out to their customer support, because you're a valued client. They don't want to lose you. And if you tell them what the problem is, go, look, I'm shocked at this. I want to work with you guys, but this is not doable. I'm going to have to look for a different solution if this is all you can offer me. What do I need to do to keep this within a budget I can live with?
Is there other, I mean, I've never, looked at Vimeo, and I haven't really thought about, I've never really even, considered YouTube after the first year or two of it, kind of becoming, usable, I guess, popular or whatever.
Yeah. YouTube's not really a good option for your, for your promotional videos. It's not a good option, because they are going to play, other stuff in there. It's a commercial environment. So you're going to want private hosting for your promotional videos, no doubt about it. It's just, and there are options, you've got Vimeo, you've got several other hosting options. You could even go to Amazon Web Services, the AWS, and they can host your videos there. A lot of the guys that do high-end marketing, and they do a lot of video usage, you'll find they're not using Vimeo, they're using Amazon Web Servers. And, you know, they get a better rate, they get, you know, wholesale rate on the bandwidth, but they do pay for bandwidth. They get a monthly bandwidth bill for how much they, you know, how much they use. And I think it's more based on the usage than the storage. So you just, you know, you just have to look around at your options. But the first thing I would do, because it's going to be the easiest for you, is just reach out to Wistia and tell them, you know, look, this isn't doable. You're going to lose me as a customer. Let's talk about, you know, what I can do, what you can do. They might say, hey, cut your videos in half and, you know, we're okay. We're good. Because it's probably the storage. In your case, it's probably more the storage than the usage. I don't think you probably have.
I guess there's a way to get, I guess, download videos from there and remove them from the site. I guess. I mean, heck, I've never.
Yeah.
Everything we've ever published there, we've just left it up, right? So,
that's what I did. I downloaded anything that was important. And if I downloaded it, you know, I just downloaded it to my local drive. I downloaded it, took it off Wistia. And then if I needed it, I uploaded it to Kartra. If I needed it to be live and just, you know, I didn't have that many though. So I didn't.
Yeah, this looks like, I mean, a freaking massive project now.
Yeah.
And then not only do I got to go through and do this and physically moving videos around, you know, it's time consuming as heck.
Yeah.
Many of them
all
are
I know.
webinars that are an hour or 2 hours long, you know, I mean, it's like, there's a lot of,
That's why I said, yeah, that's why I said your best option is to try and work it out with them.
Okay. Hey, I was going to share this thought with Roger. He was asking about the having personal time or private meetings. You know, I've had a coaching program for a decade plus, and we keep around 100 companies enrolled in it. And we've always offered us a 30-minute, you know, private meeting. And it's a high value proposition to provide that to a membership group. I think it's maybe one of the big secrets about membership groups is that people don't use the damn thing, you know, nearly as much as you think they're going to use it. And so, you know,
anytime you can add extra value, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So my calendar doesn't get killed, even though I offer it and they've got access to my calendar. You know, it just don't abuse it. I use it because of the work that I'm in and the industry that I work in. It gets used way more during the winter time when it's kind of the off season for the lawn and landscape contracting industry that I work in than in the spring and summer. During the spring and summer, I hardly hear from anybody. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to include that, Roger.
Jim, did you have something to inject in that, or?
Yeah, I think this might be helpful, Tony. You know, the whole migration project and selection and redoing the links sounds like a crazy amount of work. And I just did a quick calculation. If you pass on the $300 a month to your 9 clients, that's only $33.33 per client. And just set them up on a monthly or somehow have them absorb this.
It's always the answer, right? Higher prices solves a lot of problems.
Money solves a lot of issues.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the value proposition, and it's costing you more. So that makes sense.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Jay.
Hey, yeah, I just had one quick other thing to add, Tony. Especially with, you know, this being such a sudden change from Wistia. Do you have a customer service rep that you can talk to, or is it all via email?
Yeah, I had a meeting with, I would say a rather, I don't want to use the wrong words, but the lady was less than colorful, and she didn't, you know, this was like I was like, damn, does it not matter that I've been paying y'all every year, for 11 years? I mean, come on, it's got to be worth something,
Maybe escalate it to her supervisor, but the words that I like to use, and I don't know why, but they're magical. I got them from his last name's Voss. He's a negotiator with the hostage negotiator with FBI, and send him an email that says, "This is so sudden. How am I supposed to do that?"
Yeah.
And I know it's tempting, but don't, Chris Voss, right, Roger. Don't say anything else. It is, I've actually modeled and taught his negotiation tactics. It's magical. I've had that phrase save me $10,000 in one phone interaction. Literally.
So this is so sudden. How am I supposed to
do that? And that's it. Just don't follow it up with anything, even though everything in you wants to go, because this. Don't just say, how am I supposed to do that?
Yeah. Okay.
And what it does is it flips them psychologically to whoever it is that you're talking to will subconsciously take on the responsibility of having to help you with your problem, which they will have answers that you don't know. So it may not work, but it's certainly worth a try. I've had it work.
Yeah, I'll try it. I promise I will. Yeah.
It's
I'll do that. Because that's when I met with the lady, and she's like, I'm like, well, what kind of brought this up? I mean, everything was working fine. I was paying my bill. You guys were providing a good service. I'm looking for things in life that just work, and Wistia has just been working, and it's been great that I don't have to talk to somebody all the time, and they don't have to talk to me all the time. But yet now we got to have this conversation. She's like, I said, so we're going to meet again? No, I'll just send you the email.
I would escalate it if you can, and just say, this is so sudden, and I'm a small company. How am I supposed to do this?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
See what they say. I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
I'll update you. I promise.
That's a good tactic. Put it.
It's
on
magic.
them.
It's magic.
That's awesome.
You have to carry on like the whole attitude of, how am I supposed to do that? Not like how am I supposed to do that? Not like antagonistic, but just like, how am I supposed to do that?
Gotcha.
Special.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
Sure.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Any other topics we want to cover today? I know AI has been hot. Everybody's wanting me to speak on AI now. So that's been the hot topic of the last couple of months. But I did want to tell you guys, our year-end process that we do every year, where we look at, what we did in the last 12 months, and it kind of reflects where our income level is and how busy we are and all of that stuff. And last year when we did that in December, I said, okay, looking at what I had done, I'd spent a lot of time on the boat playing and, not working, and, and I'm fine with that. But I said, I'm going to get a little more active come January. And I did. And the way that I got more active was simply in showing up and offering to help. And I did that with speaking. I went out to certain groups and said, hey, would you like me to share some information on this topic? Share my AI book, this, that, the other, whatever they were interested in. And I started doing that. And now it's like people are coming out of the woodwork wanting me to speak on different things, and it's generating a lot of business. It's selling a lot of our SEO software. I just did another webinar yesterday to a new group that I had never spoken to before. I talked to them. They asked me to speak on AI about a month ago. And I spoke on AI, and I talked about, the AI software that we had for SEO. And after the fact, the guy said, hey, he goes, so many people reached out to me and they want to learn more about that software. So we set up a webinar yesterday and I did a whole presentation on how the software works. And we got a bunch of sales out of it. We're doing a promotion. The way I do those promotions is we do the live webinar on a Wednesday, and you have up till Friday night at midnight to take the offer. If you don't take the offer Friday night at midnight, you don't get the special discount, the deals and all that. And so as the replay has been going out, the replay started going out this morning, more and more sales are pouring in from that. We'll have probably, I'm predicting we'll have a landslide of sales tomorrow night on that. The first time I did the webinar series that way, we got a few sales on the live webinar. It was kind of disappointing, but by the Friday night, we had a whole bunch of sales. It was like pretty impressive. And by the time we closed it out on Monday morning, we had like $52,000 in sales on a product that's, you know, $299 to $499. So we moved quite a bit of it. Pretty cool stuff. But the, you know, the whole point of it is, and I showed this in the demonstration when we did this in December, the more things you do, it's like a flywheel. It's really hard to get the flywheel started. But once the flywheel starts, do you guys know what a flywheel is? It's a big heavy metal thing that makes your car motor go and be smooth once it's running.
Supplies running.
Well, it's really hard to get it started. There's a lot of energy it takes to get the flywheel moving. But once it's moving, it becomes unstoppable. That's why if you have a mileage or the little gauge in your car that tells you what your mileage is, when you first start out and you step on the gas, you're stopped, you'll see your mileage goes down to like 2 miles the gallon. And then as it gets up, it goes to 10 miles the gallon, 20 miles the gallon, 30 miles the gallon, because the flywheel's in motion. It takes a lot to generate that first part of the motion, but then it spins freely and you get a free ride. You know, you can take your foot off the gas now and the car is going to go for a long way. And the fuel mileage, if you look at that meter, when you pull your foot off the gas and the car is literally coasting along, it's still going 70 miles an hour. But your mileage goes up to like 100 miles to the gallon at this rate. And it's the same with your business. If you want high miles to the gallon, you've got to get the flywheel going. And the only way to do that is to use that energy to get it moving. And in my case, that energy was just the fact that I needed to go out and I needed to speak again. I needed to let people know who I am and the value that I provide, because I had let the flywheel stop. So the motion, the momentum, and, you know, I mean, I was okay, but I wasn't making any forward momentum because of that. Now, in my case, that flywheel moving, it creates all kinds of business. It generates more hosting for my hosting company. It generates more web development for my web developers. It generates more SEO projects for my SEO team. It brings on more people into the membership. The training goes up. I've got several new apprentices now because of it. It's all interrelated. When the flywheel starts going, things start happening and it's unstoppable. It's like when I look at my numbers next December, they're going to be like 3 times what they were last year because I was just coasting. And it didn't really take that much effort to do it.
Who are you talking to and how are you reaching out to them?
It's just anything. Like I started showing up. For instance, a perfect example, I showed up to Perry Belcher's AI event. Right? I wasn't going to do it, but I decided, you know, it's part of getting out again. So I showed up at his event. I met people at the event. I was asked to speak because I had demonstrated some expertise in the AI area. Like Like for instance, the Go Mobile guys, Damian Zamora, he's the one that did the webinar yesterday. He's one of the ones that asked me to speak to their community about AI and share my AI book. And it's just like one thing after another. And all you have to do is move the flywheel. Then the stuff starts happening. It's not like I'm like seeking out and asking people one after another. I'm just showing up. I'm showing up in the right areas and just doing what I do, which is help people. I educate them. I say, hey, you know, there's this AI thing. It's really cool. It can do a lot for your business. I do that without any agenda. I'm not there to sell anything. I'm there to share information and help. And when you do that, people want more. When you show up to provide good, they want more. And that's where your paid services, your high level, your programs, your products, your services, that's when they sell themselves. And that's really how I always approach business. It's just show up to be helpful and people will want you. Whatever it is that you're doing. And that might not work in all businesses. That might not work in everybody's niche, but it's worked really well for me. But I think the moral of the story is if you don't start taking steps, you are not going to move forward. You know, and that I can almost guarantee it. It's like, you know, it's like Einstein said, if you expect a different result doing the same thing, you're crazy. So if you're getting nothing, if your business is not moving forward and you're not doing anything about it, don't expect it to change. It's not going to. Something has to happen. Something has to be different for you to change, for your business to change. So if you're sitting at home, not doing anything, not talking to anybody and expecting your business to just explode, it's not going to happen. You've got to have a strategy. You have to, in my case, I know who my audience is. I know where I need to show up. Harry's event was a really good choice because that's the audience. A lot of the people in Perry's room were influencers. So they all have groups of people that I could help. So what better place for me to show up and offer to help them? Right? It's strategy. Business is all about strategy. You need to figure out, first of all, who your market is, who your avatars are, and who influences them. And that's where you want to start showing up. You know, like Richard, for instance, this is a perfect example for you. If you're going after the businesses, manufacturers specifically in the 2 to 10 million range, I know those are attractive to you. You need to, and there's a gazillion of them. There's a gazillion different niches that hold that avatar. But for instance, if you pare it down to association, what are the associations? And I'm talking about trade shows. Like there's a trade show for every different industry. Those industries will have those manufacturers of 2 to 10 million sitting inside them. Like for instance, the SEMA show is an industry related around cars, the car manufacturing, aftermarket products for cars. That is a perfect example. They have a show once a year. All of those businesses show up under one roof. That's a really good place to show up. You tailor a marketing campaign that's specific to their industry, and you show up and share information about how car part manufacturers can use AI to increase their business.
You mean I get to go to SEMA in Vegas on a business expense?
Maybe.
That's where SEMA is held every year, is in Vegas.
Correct. I just got the notification this morning of my ticket is ready and waiting. I haven't been for a few years, but if any of you guys know Rustin and Gwen, they're a husband-wife team. They're one of my resellers. That was an idea that Rustin was really into diesel products. He had a lot of diesel clients, and all these diesel clients went to the SEMA show. And I'm like, why don't you go to the SEMA show? There's probably a lot more of those type of clients under that roof. So, you know, he got involved, became a member, and, you know, started getting more active in that industry. That's just an example. There's a million different conventions. Like, you could contact the Las Vegas Convention Center and you could say, could you give me a list of upcoming industry events that you're hosting? They'll probably send you a PDF file of all of the ones in the next 12 months. And that would give you a blueprint of every opportunity that's coming under that roof.
Wow, John, are you actually going to go to SEMA this year? When is it?
It's typically it's the first week in November. Last week in October is typically when it is. I didn't look at the dates specifically for this year, but it almost always falls on Halloween. And Las Vegas on Halloween is quite entertaining for the most part.
Let me know, John. I want to coordinate that trip with you. Maybe we can walk part of SEMA together. I'm a big car guy. So that I hadn't thought about that, but you just said that, and it's like I should have had a V8. I mean, you know, yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. Figure out where to show up and then show up there. Show up there, spread your knowledge, let it be known that you have value, and that will pay off in spades. I can almost guarantee it. It's happened every time I've ever done it. It's happened. I don't go in with the intent of making sales. I go in with the intent of helping people understand something they don't understand, and then they automatically want to work with me.
Makes perfect sense. I'm assuming you take a lot of business cards?
Not typically. I'm typically not looking for a lot of business. I'm looking for a couple.
Again, perfect sense.
Yeah. I'm not there just to wallpaper the establishment with business cards. I'm cherry picking. I was very, very picky about who I would take on as a commercial customer. Like, if I could go to SEMA and pick off, you know, 1 or 2 customers a year, that's all I would look for. Because those are big customers. You know, they're going to pay me $10,000 a month, each one. So I didn't need 50 of them.
Are people still paying $10,000 a month for SEO anymore, given how tumultuous the whole thing is with the, you know, with you know, Google's new stuff and their new ads and all that sort of stuff?
There are big companies paying way more than that. It's the, you know, the size of the company. The 2 to 10 million, I would say you're probably looking at 2 to 5,000 is going to be average as far as what they're spending on SEO.
Okay, well, that sounds really interesting. So I adjusted prices based on the fact that you kept saying that the bigger manufacturers may not hire you if you're too cheap. But on the other hand, I was thinking that foot in the door stuff with the free lead magnet, I think is a big one. And
yeah,
once they know that if they're going to pay for a lead magnet, that's going to cost $3,000. You can walk in asking a lot more on the other stuff. Quite frankly, a lead magnet for a big company like that, if that lead magnet gets them one job, like you said, that more than pays for the whole year.
Yeah. Now I'm going to give you a perfect example here of going in with the idea of just helping them out, because most of these guys already have an SEO company. And getting someone to change and go to you that's an unknown when they've already got a known commodity, even though it might not be working that well for them, it's still, you are an unknown. At least the known is, they're always more comfortable with the known, even if it's not good. So to get them to switch, you don't go in trying to get them to switch. What my tactic would be is I would approach the company that already has an SEO company that they're paying $2,000 to $5,000 a month for. And I would say, hey, you know, how's your SEO working? How many #1 listings do you have on buyer keywords that's actually converting and driving revenue for your company? I would ask them that because that's a pain question. They're probably not going to have a real good answer they're proud of. And say, you know, I understand that you're spending, you know, X amount on your SEO, and look, I don't want that business. I'm not here to try and get that business. I have an AI tactic that I can add on top of that for $97 a month that will make your investment of that $5,000 a month actually work. How likely do you think you would be to sell a $97 item that made their $5,000 work?
That sounds logically, that sounds really smart, but are they, if they're paying 5,000, are they going to believe that something for $97 is actually going to do anything for them?
If you wrap it in a big idea and you do claim proof benefit, you can.
If you do that, why wouldn't you do it for, you know, $297 or something a little bit more in line with that? Or is that, are you just trying to give it away?
You could, you're just trying to give it away. Because what do you think's going to happen when they say yes? You're making a no-brainer offer. You can make the offer of, I guarantee it. You can say, if I don't get at least one of your keywords moved up onto the first page in 90 days, I'll continue the service for free for the next 12 months.
Yeah, that's really obvious. And that, you know, nobody is or has ever really been able to offer a warranty or guarantee on SEO. And the fact that we can do that is something that really sets you apart. Yeah.
And the way you do that, you're looking at worst case scenario here. The product I'm talking about, it costs you, you know, on an agency level, it's costing $4 a month for the service. So if you have to provide the service for a full year, it's costing you 4 times 12, that's $48. And if they're going to pay 3 months at $100 a month, that you've collected $300 for something that costs you $48 in your worst case scenario. So you don't have to worry about losing money on the guarantee. It's not a money back guarantee. It's if you give me 3 months and I can't move this, if I can't move the needle in 3 months, I'll continue to work for free for up to a year until I move the needle for you. That's my guarantee. That is a very confident guarantee. People like to work with confidence. They will go to somebody that's confident that will make that guarantee. And then guess what's going to happen when you do move the needle for $97? They're going to start doing some serious questioning of their SEO company that they're paying $5,000 to. And the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a little conversation on the side of, hey, how much would you charge me, Richard, to take over the SEO?
Well, that entirely depends, John, on how much you charge me.
So, but that's how it's going to go. And I'm talking pure strategy here. If you ask me how I would go about skinning the cat of getting business in that scenario, that's the way I would approach it. I mean,
I like that. I like that a lot. And I didn't have that quite as clearly focused in because I was looking at other areas trying to get other pieces, but I appreciate that because that's really, really clear. My mind was going to one other place because the thing about the SEO and the way that you just did it is that we know that it'll go down that path, but you've got you've got to set your watch for 3 months from now before you're having the hope of having to have that conversation. And one of the things, one of the little things that always tickles in the back of my mind is, where's your closest dollar? Because money loves speed. And you want to give your customers an immediate result as quickly as you can. And one of the things that I know, that I've never met a business, put it this way, that really does a good job of staying in contact and reactivating and reselling previous clients. They've got a whole, the money is in the list. They've got a filing cabinet full of old customers, and they've never gone back and talked to any of them. And if you go in there and say, tell you what, we'll just do this little program for $500. And and you just send out some reactivation emails, you're going to get some responses pretty quickly, at least in my mind. We've always done it before, the old school way of making phone calls or having salespeople call them, but with, that was before the day of email and that sort of stuff. It would seem to me that might be something that could produce a result faster and for a little bit more money, but then they're going to be really interested in talking about all the other things that you might be able to help them with. Does that make sense to you, or am I missing a fly in the ointment?
That's just another angle. If I didn't have SitePop to offer them that, I would go in and I'd say, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You all have a big client list and you're not paying attention to them. I could create you an automated campaign using Kartra, and I could set you up to take advantage of your current asset that you have, that's money on the table. And basically you're selling them into a Kartra account for $100 a month that you're going to get $40 a month forever once it's set up. You get some money up front to set the campaign up for them. They'll probably want to pay you to run the campaign. You can hire an outsourcer to go in and, run a campaign for them once a month, automate the process. And again, you just do something of high value for them on an intro basis. And once you do that, you've established your value. Now they're going to want to know, whoa, what else do you do? How else can I leverage you? I liked what happened the first time. What more can we do? Because like you said, money loves speed, or speed loves money. You show them how to make money, they're going to want more. It's like, you give them a cookie, they're going to want the milk.
Well, that brings me back to the question that I asked at the very beginning, is that, okay, we upload their customer list, we send out the emails, we're going to start getting responses back. I need a CRM to be able to deal with those incoming emails in response to that outgoing stuff. And I wanted to make sure that Kartra had the capacity to do that.
Yeah. You set up their help desk, you put somebody in charge of it. So those emails go right to that person. And now you're generating business and leads for them.
You have to handle it through the help desk though. There's no, when they respond back,
you can have them respond directly on the emails, just right back to, whatever email you send it out through. Absolutely.
Okay. And what was
the only thing I like about driving them through the help desk is it documents everything. It documents everything right in that customer's record. So if you just have them send it back through email, respond to the email, you're outside the CRM. You're creating ultimately a can of worms for them.
Well, that was why I was wondering where the customer management dashboard. I've never looked, but like I said, I don't know Kartra that well. If there's a customer management dashboard where you can go in and access.
You can look at every customer. You can sort them by tags, by lists, by all that stuff.
Wow. Okay. Well, that really answers the question. Do you call it the support desk or just customer service? Or I guess that doesn't really matter what you call it.
You can call it whatever you want. You can call it our sales department. Contact our sales department. Here's the link. Put in a ticket. And
perfect,
then it logs it.
Perfect.
it logs it right to their account. It's beautiful.
Well, John, I don't care what they say. I think you're beautiful. So thank you.
Inside, right?
Just like me.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Anything else for today before we wrap her up?
John, Tony Bass again.
Yeah.
You had from day one, I'm kind of new here with your group, but from day one, you've been talking about this Kartra. And until we had gotten in here working with you, was unfamiliar with that. We've been using the Keep, or formerly known as Infusionsoft software, for the last decade or so. You have an opinion about the comparison between the two? Is one better than the other? What's the significant difference why you use the Kartra today and endorse it?
Gotcha. Well, I can't speak a lot to Keep. I don't know, like when they made the transition from Infusionsoft to Keep, I didn't really keep up with that. So where it is now, I really can't address that like on a true knowledge basis. But prior to that, when it was Infusionsoft, you had to have people that set it up for you that really knew what they were doing. It was not easy and intuitive. I bought Infusionsoft, paid a lot of money for it, and paid for it for several years and never actually got it working. And, you know, I mean, that's my fault. That's on me. I just didn't have the time to go in and figure it out, and I didn't want to, you know, pay somebody as much as they wanted to go in and configure it for me. So, you know, I should have recognized that right out of the gate and just not bought it to begin with. And then I bought ClickFunnels, looking for the same outcome. I was looking for automated marketing. So I bought ClickFunnels. I looked at Kajabi. I spent a fair amount of money bouncing from one to the next, never really getting one that was fully capable and something that was easy. And then all of a sudden, you know, and to that point, I had everything bootstrapped together. I had found software to do all the stuff I wanted to do, and I had it bootstrapped together. And I had Wistia for my video hosting. I had AR Plus for my autoresponder. I had a member for my membership site. I had, you know, this shopping cart and that, this and that, the other, and I had a calendar system. All this stuff I was paying hundreds of dollars a month for all of it. And it was working. I had spent the time, I had pieced it all together, and it was working. It was just costing me a bunch. But I didn't have the level of automation I really wanted from the beginning. Like when the Infusionsoft guys would come to the conferences and they would speak and they would talk about the automation, it's like, oh my God, I want to live in that world. You know, you want it, you buy it, and then you don't get it. It falls short. And that was my experience with all those products. ClickFunnels was about the closest thing, but with ClickFunnels, and I hear it's much better now. So again, it might be different than my experience. But my experience was when I bought ClickFunnels, it was not as easy as they said. You had to connect a bunch of stuff. You had to have technical expertise, which I didn't have at the time. And then they had to, if you wanted the email integrated, you had to buy an upgrade for their email service, which they didn't tell you to begin with. And then if you wanted an affiliate program, which everybody does, you had to buy their affiliate module. And by the time you bought all the stuff, now you're up to, you know, $500 a month again. So when Kartra came out, Mike Filsame had reached out to me, and he was the major promoter of Kartra at the time. And he said, hey, he goes, I know what you're doing with the ACT program. I've talked to several people had talked to him about me. And he said that, you know, our product is perfect for what you do. And it's also a perfect product for you to become an affiliate of and recommend, because everybody you're teaching marketing can use it right out of the gate with no issues. And, you know, and he just went down the list of here, it does all this stuff. You don't need any extra modules, $99 a month. It does everything. And I'm looking at it and I'm looking at how much I'm paying for all the stuff it does. And it had 3 times more than I had at a fifth the price. And my only trepidation at that point was, as lazy as I am, I'm going to have to move a bunch of shit in here. So that wasn't appealing to me, but I bought it just to play with it. And I figured, hey, you know, I'll play with a little bit of it. I'll check it out. And when I got in and I started playing around with it, I started actually moving stuff into it, found that it was a lot easier than I thought. And before you knew it, I had all my stuff moved into it. I had canceled all the stuff I was using before, saved me a bunch of money, and I was able to create the automation that I'd always wanted. So that's my long story to it. But
One quick question, John, you were asked, because one of that was a question that came to mind and fell out of my aged brain here. What you said that you use the email inside Kartra for existing customers and what I would call, you know, administrative contacts, but you said that you used a different email provider for doing your cold outreach and the stuff that Kartra might get a little skittish about because they're so tight on their spam stuff. What was the email provider that you suggest tying into Kartra that works?
Yeah, I use SendGrid. So SendGrid is it's a separate email provider, and it has a Kartra integration. So when you're sending out mail in Kartra, you choose the mail provider you want to use to send. And like with all of my customers, all my clients, all my stuff inside of Kartra that are warm leads, people that have opted in through Kartra, I use the Kartra mail to communicate with all of them. But if I'm going to send out a bulk mail to a bunch of people, even if they're all in Kartra, because of the fact that it's sent in a bulk way, I use the SendGrid to send that mail, because I don't want to be seen as spam in Kartra and lose my privileges.
Is SendGrid the one that pays you only for the emails you send and not just however many you have into your account? Because most of them don't. They charge you for how many emails you have, not necessarily actually sending them. So it's costing you money just to warehouse emails. I don't think that that's fair.
No, I think they charge you based on how many you want to send on a monthly basis. I don't think it's the size of the list. I think it's how many you want to send in a month.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, all right, Ahmed.
Thank you. I think he touched base on the email aspect of it, but does Kartra has appointment scheduling and stuff of that nature in it, or do I have to get another service for that?
It has a calendar feature in it. So you can set up calendars if you want people to be able to schedule with you. And it integrates right into the customer records. So the calendar system is built into it.
So it has the email, the calendar,
It has the automated follow-up. And
funnels.
Yes, funnels, page, landing page builder. The cool thing with the calendar is if somebody schedules, it will do the automated follow-up to make sure they show up for the appointment. It will also put tags on them. Like if you want to tag on all the people in your database that scheduled an appointment for XYZ, so 2 months from now, you can reach back out to that group of all the people that scheduled. You can do that. There's a lot of ways to automate follow-up with Kartra.
I see.
You can also set up automations in your follow-up. Like you can say, okay, if somebody schedules a meeting with me in the calendar, I want to follow up and I want to give them a bonus of a seven week drip campaign of here's something every week you can do to help your business. So every week they're going to get that email. And every week in the email, you're basically showing them how to use something that you have and giving them the ability to purchase it. And if they purchase it, you want to remove them from that sequence because they already bought it. And you want to move them into another sequence of how to use it, how to get the most out of it. Because in the sequence, if they're in a sequence where you're trying to sell them something, on week 7, you're going to give them a special offer. You're going to say, hey, you know, this is your last chance to buy. I'm going to give you 50% off to make sure that you get the value of using this. And if they bought it on week 3, you don't want them to get to week 7 and see that it's 50% off. That's a disaster. Because then they're going to be pissed. They're going to come back and they're going to want half the money back. And it's just a mess. So you remove them from the sequence as soon as they buy. That triggers hit. They're taken out of that sequence and now they're put into the fulfillment sequence of thank you for ordering. You know, we're going to take you out of the other sequence because that was for beginners. Now we're going to give you the real deal here. And then you start delivering value. So it's an awesome system. Now to the point of, you know, with Tony's using Keep. Keep will probably do all of that stuff. I just don't think it's as easy to do. And for some of you that are in Go High Level, I'm not familiar, you know, totally with Go High Level. I'm sure it will do a similar amount of stuff. I don't know, you know, if it's as easy to do or whatever, but I just found, you know, I got to use Kartra for so long. I'm so familiar with it that that's what I recommend. Because if you get into Kartra, I can help you. If you get into Keep or High Level, you know, you're on your own. And I like to support the group. I just don't want to learn all these different systems to do it. So, and I don't know that there's anybody that's supporting the, you know, the other systems like I do here with Kartra. So that's my reason, you know, why I stand behind Kartra, and because I use it, I know it like the back of my hand. And if you get it, I can help you with it.
I have another quick question, please.
Sure.
Does anyone have any access to individuals who can put those sequences together for me, for example,
Yes.
where they can develop it, the different sequences and all that, and just kind of start it as a template to begin with, and then you could adapt and take away.
Yeah, I've actually put together several of the templates that I can just import into your account, depending on what you want to do. Also, inside Kartra, they have a marketplace in there. And in the marketplace, they've got a ton of free templates for a lot of different scenarios. And you can just install them. It's a one-click install. And it includes, you know, once you install it, it's got all that stuff, all the automations, all the triggers. You have to obviously go in and plug in your content, but at least all the framework is there and you just edit it. You know, as far as customized, there's several people, you know, in the group that they do that kind of work that I could hook you up with. You know, if you need help beyond that. If you want to do it yourself, I really recommend that you learn enough about Kartra to manage it yourself, because you'll want to use it to manage your client base. Like you'll get people that'll say, hey, you know, I'd love to purchase this product. So you need to know how to get in there and how to give them the links or how to sign them up for something or whatever. So and it's not hard to learn. It's really not. There's a lot of pieces to it, but to learn it in a basic way so you can manage your customers is a piece of cake.
Managing the customer piece of it, I think I'm good with, is the content development constantly.
Yeah.
Is that I'm challenged with.
Yeah, and there's a lot of templates, like for landing pages. They've got a ton of templates where you can just slide the template in and edit the content. As far as creating the content, if you can use ChatGPT to create almost any content you want. You just need to learn how to prompt it. You need to learn how to ask it for what you want. And, you know, I've talked about that many times. I've got several examples of prompting it to create content in that free book that I put out for it. You know, you're welcome to ask on here anytime. If you want to create certain content, you know, we can help work on the prompts, you know, in here, because this is something everybody really needs to learn. You need to learn how to create prompts to get good output out of ChatGPT. If you're not, you're wasting a massive, valuable opportunity, because content is king. You know, you need to create content on a daily basis, whether it's responding to emails or creating new sales copy or making offers or creating products, anything. It's all content related. You know, as a business, we create content. All of our products are somewhat content driven. You know, so content is really important. Without content, you're not an expert. If you're not an expert, people aren't going to be very enthused to work with you. If you don't know more than they do, what's their value? What's your value to them? And ChatGPT is like the ultimate knowledge base. It can make you look like a superstar in seconds. And all you have to do is just get a little bit creative about how you ask it. So it's a very, very powerful tool. So as far as solving all the problems of how do you create, you can create a landing page based on the templates inside Kartra, just sliding them in, and then you can create the content by learning how to ask ChatGPT. So that's two of the biggest hurdles that most people will have, is how to build a landing page. I don't know how to do that. I don't have that at my disposal. And now you do. And how do I create content? I'm not a copywriter. Well, now you are. So, and if graphics is a problem, it's the same thing. You just need to learn how to prompt the graphics, the AI graphics generators into creating you images. And now you're an artist. You know, it's like Perry, he came up on stage with a fairy wand, and he said, I'm going to wand all of you. And, you know, now you're an artist. Now you're a copywriter. And it was pretty funny, you know, the way that he did that. But he said, I'm going to wave my magic wand, and by the time you leave this room, you're all going to be expert copywriters. You're all going to be expert graphic artists. And what you're not going to leave the room with is excuses. You'll have no more excuses of why you're not successful. And it was just pretty cool the way he did that. I liked it.
John, if you're talking with Kartra so closely, there's two things, big things that Kartra, so far, at least I don't know. I have not seen where they offer a place where they take all their branding off of it, because all your emails go out with their branding on it, which kind of like sabotages your ability to really customize it in a way that makes it look like it's yours and not theirs. So you could make a suggestion for them to offer a white label or, you know, brand free version. That would really be important. And the other thing is, there's some critical things that they don't do that they need to have integrations for. I think they do Twilio, so you can add SMS to it, but Twilio doesn't offer like ringless voice drops and things like that. And there's no integrations they offer that have those services. So their integrations section is rather paltry compared to what most of the other platforms have in terms of the things that they'll integrate with. So
yeah, they're actually aware of that. That's something that they are working on. As far as the email, you'll notice that any email platform that you use to send email is going to have their branding on the bottom. That's a compliance issue. So like you'll see powered by Constant Contact, powered by, you know, Email Monkey or whatever the hell that thing is. And that's a compliancy thing to eliminate spam. And if somebody wants to complain, they need to know where it came from. Now,
Well,
what I do in that case, if and you know, I don't really like it either. I don't like that it says powered by Kartra at the bottom. So what I do is I make my own email template that's graphical. You've probably seen them. They come out every week. And it's got the, you know, it's formatted and it's got the color and my logo and all that stuff. At the bottom of the email template, you can put like, and I don't know that I did this. I probably should because it's a good thing to do. I'll take the return button and I'll hit it like 10 times. And it just puts blank space between that powered by Kartra and the bottom of my email. Everybody knows what the bottom of my email looks like. There's no reason to scroll blank space. So, I mean, you could put 50 returns in there and push that thing, you know, down a half a mile.
Well, if you can't get rid of it, I guess you can bury it. So
exactly. So that's a, you know, a kind of a fix for that for you.
Super. Thanks.
Sounds like my ex-wife.
A barrier.
Well, that's what she said about me.
That's funny.
Well, increasing the number of integrations would also really be helpful because I'm surprised it's still, you know, I don't think they even have 10 integrations there. I think it's down like 7 or 8. I mean, their integrations are single digits, and most of the other platforms have long lists. I guess unless they're relying on Zapier to hook it all together.
The reason for that is they've got most of the stuff built in where you don't need to integrate. They've got just about everything you would want. There is a handful of things, you know, that they don't have that would be nice if they had integrations for them. But you know, they've got almost everything that you need right in the platform. So there's not a huge call for integrations.
Well, I guess as long as they have Zapier, I guess we'll use Zapier. Zapier's the internet's duct tape. So
yeah, that's kind of the fix all for anything you want to patch in. All right. Anybody else before we wrap up?
Hey, John, do you have a top 10 list of prompts that you like to use with AI?
You know, I was thinking about that the other day. A really good opportunity for any of you that have not figured out how to make money yet. If you want a really good opportunity right now is selling prompts. If you can go to any particular industry and you can create a set of prompts for that industry and you can sell those, you know, for whatever. There's no set rate on what a prompt is worth. Last week, we talked about the guy that was doing real estate prompts, getting really high-end value content using his real estate prompts for realtors. And he's selling those to the real estate market. So that's a really good industry. That's a really good thing to create a product around and sell it. High demand. But the thing is, I was thinking about it, like, should I create prompts? And I thought, I hate that. When I buy prompts, I've already bought like several sets of prompts already. And what I've found is they're junk. The people that are selling them don't even know how to write prompts. They just know how to sell shit. And so it's that opportunity is probably not going to last long because of that. Everybody's jumping on it. But what I would rather do is I would rather teach how to make a prompt because they're not difficult to make. I'd rather show you the fundamentals of how to just make a prompt for anything that you want. And it's just a logical thought process of, you know, what do you want? And you tell the thing what you want. The more detailed that you can get, the better the output. If you put a prompt in and you don't get a favorable response, all you do is just edit the prompt. You can just tell the machine, hey, that wasn't what I was looking for. I had more of this in mind. And by doing that a few times, it doesn't take long for you to get a really good skill set in writing your own prompts. I don't think you're going to get anybody that's going to give you like the top 10 prompts, because the top 10 for what? They're never going to give you what you want. They'll give you 10 really good prompts, but unless it's exactly in alignment with what you want, you're still in the same boat. You need to learn how to develop a prompt. You know, if you buy a set of prompts that happens to be good for something, like for instance, that real estate guy that was selling the real estate prompts, I would probably, if I were you, I would probably buy his prompts, not necessarily with the intent of using them, but with the intent of learning how he formatted them. So you can format your own for whatever you want. Because he did a really good job of building those prompts. He is not an example of somebody that was selling crap. He is an example of selling something spectacular for a specific industry. Like his was based on real estate listings. It was, here's the prompts to create real estate listings that are spectacular. So hopefully that makes sense, but I would rather have you learn how to do your own prompt than just think that you're going to buy a set of 10 prompts and they're going to solve all your problems, because they're not. This is a tool that requires a certain skill set, and the skill set's not hard to get. I mean, you could build that skill set in an hour, probably, because it's immediate. You know, you put in a prompt, it gives you a result. No, it's not what I wanted. Edit the prompt, get a new result. Well, it's closer. You're either closer or you're further away. So you can learn really quickly what you want just by playing with it. And don't be afraid to play with it. That's the thing. Nobody wants to try it because they think they won't do it right. Or they think it's, you know, they think they won't be good enough or whatever. The only way you're going to get better, and is to start playing with the stuff.
Hey, does it remember who you are, ChatGPT, and keep a record of your questions? And
it does. It's like it keeps them on the side, and it's in chats. They refer to it as a chat. So when you start a chat, you can name it, and then it stays on the side as that name. And you can go back to that chat, and you can reopen it, and it picks up right where you left off. Now, if you want a new one, like if you're going to go on a new topic, you are better off to open a new chat window and start it fresh, because it's already got a base knowledge of something you don't need. So, and you can have, as far as I know, you can have an unlimited number of them. I've seen some people, you have to scroll and scroll. Like Perry, he couldn't find the chats he wanted because he had so damn many in his account. So he wound up spending most of his time looking for chat windows to open up. So that's
it automatically generates a name based on what it thinks would be a good name for it, and it does let you edit it, but you should make sure that you have some naming conventions so that you don't have the Perry problem.
Yeah, exactly. So it does allow you to change the name of the chat, so you can name it yourself. But it does just like Word documents. When you save a Word document, if you haven't named it, it's just going to pick up the first section, and that's the name of the document. But you can edit that. So that answer your question, Woody?
it raises another question of like, what are the key components that a good prompt requires? But and you can delete your chats as well.
Yeah. So where you want to start with a chat or a prompt is you want to start by telling it who it is. You have to like define the world that you're walking in. So you can say, you know, you are an SEO expert. Now all of a sudden it knows who it is. And you can say, you're going to need to do research on a particular topic. And now it knows, okay, here's a specific instruction. And then you can tell it the research you are going to do first is figure out what are the best keywords. You're going to do that by running these searches and finding out what the top sites are that are listed for that, and looking at their keyword tags and seeing what's common. So you're giving it a really specific set of instructions. And now it knows what to do. It can go do that, and it can create that set of keywords. So that could be your first prompt in the chat. And then now that it's got those, it's up to a knowledge level. Now you can move to the next question in the chat. You can say, based on these keywords, can you create some content for me so my website can rank for these particular keywords? And then it knows, and you can send it back out to those sites and go look at the content on those sites, look at the length of the content, look at the H1 tags, and build me content that's going to compete and be a little bit better. And, you know, and that's based on SEO. You could do that for real estate. You could start off and say, you know, you're an expert, you're the top realtor in the LA basin, you know, or the Santa Monica area. You're a top realtor in Santa Monica. You have a house to sell. Here's some of the features of the house. Here's the street address. I want you to look at all the other listings and find how the listings that sold the fastest, what did their listing look like? I want you to learn from that so you can write me a spectacular listing for this house. You know, you're being very, very specific with it. The more specific and the more detailed your instruction is, you can also tell it what kind of person you're trying to sell the house to. You can say, make this appeal to the female. The woman is the buyer in this case. She's the one that's going to pull the strings and make this happen. So we need to appeal to her. What's most important to her? You know, is it the schools in the area? Is it the shopping? Is it the close convenience to the beach? And you're seeding it with all kinds of stuff that it can now use and leverage into that content when it creates it. You can say, write it in a very friendly tone because we want to appeal to her. You can say, you know, write it as if you are a high school friend of hers. You know, you can say, use some humor, all kinds of stuff. And you can play with it. You can simply just say, give me that output. No, I don't like it. It's, you know, it's too stiff. If you've got writers, if you know a writer, like a writer style, like let's say they like, you know, women like romance novels. Say, reference this writing style of this romance novel, you know, novelist, and put that, you know, spin that technique into my listing. Write this listing as though you're a romance novel writer. You know, that might be really cool what you get out of it, because you're trying to make her fall in love with something before she's even seen it. Who's better at that than a romance novel writer? You know,
I actually had to write an email sequence and told it to write it first as, you know, just how it wrote it. And it wrote a nice one. Then I said, okay, do it in the voice of Neil Patel, then do it in the voice of Gary Halbert, do it in the voice of Ryan Reynolds. And it did all that stuff. It did a beautiful job, and you can tweak them a little bit, and it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible just getting creative with it. You will get the most amazing content out of that thing. Well beyond, I guarantee you, if you spend an hour learning how to prompt ChatGPT, it will be like you spent 10 years learning copywriting. So you can spend the next 10 years learning copywriting. You can spend the next 2 years learning how to tell a copywriter what you want, or you can learn an hour learning how to do a prompt. Those are your choices. Choose wisely. All right, guys, we're over the 2 hours here, so I'm going to go ahead and Roger looks like he's getting tired, so I'm going to give him a break. He's got better stuff to do.
Yeah, Woody's relaxing on the floor there. I can see that. So thanks, John. I really appreciate it. Great nuggets today. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I think we hit some good stuff. So that was cool. All right, guys. Well, have a great week. I believe we'll be regular time next week, and we'll see you then.
Good stuff, man. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.